Indigo, are we ready to... What happened to all the lights, dude? This isn't funny. Can you turn the lights on? Hi everyone, welcome to GameGorgon. My name is Krug.
I'm Indigo.
Today, Indigo's here to talk to you about Outbreak Undead.
That's correct. We're going to be talking about Outbreak Undead, which is a game made by Hunters Entertainment. But before we get into it, let's talk about what you're going to need to play the game. You're going to need a pen and a pencil. I'm just kidding. You just need a pencil. Never use a pen.
Thank you.
Piece of paper, your character sheet, percentile die, which is 2 10-sided die. The other thing you're going to be needing is you're going to be needing a bunch of D6s. Now, if you can get D6s that are different colors, that's going to be beneficial for you so that you can tell the difference between different types of rolls, because you're going to be doing a bunch of rolling at the same time.
How many different colors would you say you need?
I would say 3 would be beneficial.
Okay.
One of the reasons why I wanted to play this game, and one of the reasons why I really like this book, is it flat out tells you in the very beginning of the book, if you don't like a rule, don't use it.
Good advice.
There are 3 different means of playing the game. There is arcade, weekend warrior, and hardcore, I believe.
As we go through the book and explore the mechanics, we're going to be using a sample character from the book itself to reference and kind of do a little bit of practical application for some of the things that we talk about. We're going to be using Dora on page 213 of the book if you want to go look at it yourself. We're also going to be showing examples on screen when we feel like we need to, but that's just for your reference. We're not going to be talking about character creation this time.
No.
It is a little bit complicated.
It is a little bit complicated, and it needs to be its own video in itself because the creation of is so dramatically different depending on how you want to play. You can try to attempt to make yourself by taking a personality test. You can roll dice. There's a lot.
There's a plethora of options. So that's not gonna come out next week, but if you wanna see it, just let us know and that'll motivate us to push it up the list.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
First thing that we're going to be looking at is all of your attributes. This is called your spew.
Wait, spew?
Yes.
Spew.
Spew. It is an
disgusting?
No. Yes, it is. That's disgusting.
The only thing worse that acronym could have been is moist.
Well, when you're looking at strength, perception, empathy, and willpower.
M-O-I-st. Moist.
That's the best way you're gonna group those up together. I can't think of
A few moments later.
Pews. That's pews. Pew, 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 pew.
As I was saying, you'll be using your spew attributes to figure out your skill check percents. So for balance on Dora, you'll be adding your perception score with your willpower bonus, getting us to 43%. To find out which numbers you will be adding together to get the skill percent, you look at the small images to the left of the skill. The darker image, you will use the score, and the faint image, you will use the bonus. Mind you, additional things like Gestalt level and items will also add to the bonus, but we'll go over those in a character creation video.
So basically what you're saying is that it's Common Core math, because that's honestly what this sounds like to me.
The thing that it makes it a little weird, because I don't know why you don't take the lower of the number. I don't understand it.
I get it. I get what they're trying to pull off. It just feels too much like Common Core math.
Yeah, I guess because that first number is going to be changing less than the secondary number, which is going to be 1 through 9 every single time. So if you're at 29, for your perception, and then someone gets 32, which is supposed to be better, but they're getting a lower point. I get that. But because the percentile dies are already really, really low, I don't understand why not combine them. Perception and both totals, combine them together.
Yeah.
Because it's highly unlikely you're going to have a 50. I don't know. The game's
I think they
intentionally very difficult.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think it's just to make you weaker in general,
Yeah,
which
well-
is totally reasonable given what this is trying to accomplish.
Yeah. Now that you've gotten your score for your specific skill, you're going to then be rolling dice. You're
Okay.
going to be rolling your percent dice. Now the goal is to receive a number below the percent of that skill.
Oh, okay.
Now with Dora's Brawl, it is a 29.
Okay.
So if Dora is put in a position where they need to fight, they have to roll a percent die and have to get lower than 29. So that's very hard. You have you have a little bit better than a 25% chance. You have exactly a 29% chance of succeeding.
That's the number.
Now, how the game works is that for every 10 points below the number you're trying to get below, so with her 29, every 10 points below, you get a degree of success.
Okay.
Now, for every 10 above, it's considered a degree of failure. So this is where the gameplay comes in, is if you're trying to brawl and you're Dora and you roll a 45, right? You have a few degrees of failure.
Yep.
You're going to then have to describe to the GM how your character failed at the brawl.
Okay. So if what are can you provide some examples of degrees of failure, like 1 versus 3
Sure.
versus 9?
One could be as simple as, okay, so with failure specifically, if your number is within the first 10, it's not considered a degree of failure, it's just a failure.
Oh, right, because you haven't reached 10 yet.
Exactly.
Okay.
So within that first, if you just miss, you don't
Yeah.
succeed, nothing negative happens. Now, if you have a degree of failure, you get to kind of narrate it, and the player is definitely going to narrate it on the softer side than the GM will.
Which it seems like is a reasonable assumption based on how difficult the game seems to be.
Yeah, so the player might do something as simple as I swing and I miss so hard that I spin myself around and I get disoriented.
Sure.
Right? Or they might say that might be like 1 degree of failure.
Yeah.
Or multiple degrees of failure is I might fall prone, giving the other person a better chance about hitting you on their action.
Yep.
Going and tripping and taking physical damage could be additional degrees.
Okay.
So it kind of exponentially gets worse and worse and worse with the more degrees you are. And like I said, players are usually going to be like, I fall and I take superficial damage, which we haven't gotten into. We'll get there. Which superficial damage is just, stuff that you can easily heal or bandage but it's less as dangerous as the GM being like, okay, you've got 5 degrees of failure. They're going to just hit you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you're going to take serious damage. So that's kind of how degrees of failure work. Degrees of success works a little bit different.
Okay.
So if you're within the first 10, you're considered to have a degree of success.
Okay. So even before you get to 10, you can already have a degree of success.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So if you succeed, if you're within the first 10, 1 degree of success, and then you go on from there.
Okay.
And so that's where the game kind of gives the player the little bit of all right,
little advantage.
A little, hey, there's a little bit of gap where it's just not that bad. Degrees of success can be used to give yourself additional damage.
Okay.
Can be used to hit specific parts of the body to avoid, say body armor.
Sure.
So, for example, with a gun, if you have 4 degrees of success, it can be considered a headshot, avoiding any sort of armor.
Nice.
And so that's kind of how degrees of success and degrees of failure.
That makes sense.
It's such a loose system, in that sense, because the GM could easily one day, in a good mood, be like, yeah, degree of failure could be, you just missed. But another day, we're like, no, you punched and you hurt yourself. That's a degree of failure. So it's kind of depending on your GM of how.
Which is, I think, that kind of variability in the way that those systems work makes it a lot better for games that focus on role-playing or that have a role-playing heavy element to them, because you can just tailor it to fit your situation really easily. There's no built-in mechanic that says that this is this way. It's just like, hey, they failed a little, make sure they pay for that. Hey, they failed a lot, make sure they pay a lot. Cool.
Yeah.
I'm a GM, I'm a creative person, I can make that work. And same with the players.
Yeah.
I love that.
Now, the fun thing about how the degrees of success and degrees of failure work is that if you are working with someone to accomplish something, and I get degrees of success and you get degrees of failure, I can use some of my degrees of success to counteract your degrees of failure.
Nice.
So there's kind of like a little bit of balance that you are working as a team. You know, we're trying to climb up this sea container, and you slip, and that's what you use. And I go, okay, I would like to use 2 degrees of success to try to catch him before he falls to his death.
That's cool. I dig it.
So there's a lot of wiggle room.
Yeah.
I feel like I keep saying that. There's a lot of wiggle room.
Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle.
Now, when you're actually in play, you're going to announce what your actions are going to be. Now, this is combat specifically. If you're just out in the world and walking around, you're just going to be playing, describing what you do.
Yeah.
But once you get into combat, you're going to stop. All of the players are going to describe what they want to do. And then the GM will then assign what is called speed dice, which is going to vary based off of how many actions or how complicated of an action that they're trying to do.
Okay, so like a character that wants to open a door might get like 1 speed dice. They're right next to the door and they just want to open it. Whereas a character that wants to, from across the room, sprint to the open door and then like somersault pull their pistol and start shooting people, that's like 19 speed dice.
Yeah, usually
I'm exaggerating.
Yeah, usually it's between like 1 to 4.
Yeah.
Like it's a few speed dice. And after you do that, you're also going to roll for your attack if you're trying to roll for an attack, or roll for whatever skill you're trying to do. You're doing that all at the same time.
Okay.
Okay. So you're going to roll your speed die, roll your percentile die.
Okay.
You're going to also, if you're trying to hit someone, you're also going to roll your damage dice.
Okay.
And so that's why you need different colored dice, is
Fair.
you don't want to mix up your speed with your damage.
Yep.
You roll your dice, and then based off of the speed number, goes off of the order in which everyone does the thing that they want to. So if you're a person that wanted to open the door and you rolled a 6,
And the person doing the somersaulting rolled a 3 on their 3 speed dice.
Yeah.
They just smash into the door.
well, like they can't do that anymore.
Oh, okay.
Like, so they have to be like, oh, okay, well, since the door's not open, I'm gonna then use one of my things to open the door itself.
Okay.
And so it's like there's a little bit of like wiggle room around it. But usually it goes in order pretty consistently of who's rolling the lowest dice. But there's a little bit of wiggle room within it.
Cool.
And then once that happens, you're going to also explain your degrees of success or failure on how you did those things. And so when you're trying to do multiple things, let's just say you have 3 degrees of failure, right? When you try to shoot or go in, you can say, well, because the door wasn't open, I ran into the door, I tried to open the door, and I fumbled and I dropped my gun. And you could then turn around and give up some of your failure points by explaining out how those different things screwed you up.
True.
Which is very fun, I think.
Yeah.
Because you're able to kind of describe...
Interacting with the story is usually fun.
Yeah, exactly. Because the players are able to put their stamp of how things behave or work more than just like, well, I can only move 10 feet. Or you know what I mean? Like it's just a consistent like flow of how everything works.
Yeah.
When it comes to your health, there are a few things that you need to know. Your damage threshold and your health points. Whenever someone does damage to you, it needs to make it through your damage threshold. The average person's threshold is between 5 and 7, so a well-placed shot will quickly lead to an injury. Your damage threshold will be your strength bonus and your willpower bonus added together. When someone makes it past your threshold and you gain an injury, you will also take some sort of difficulty related to the injury. Alongside this, your injury will lead to you losing a health point, most of the time. Every player has 5 hit points, and when they are gone, well, guess what? So are you. Next is viral. This is a scale used to show symptoms of different viruses or diseases, sometimes as small as a cold, all the way up to the zombie virus. Then there is Psyche. This is a reflection of your character's ability to handle stresses in the world.
Now, you're going to start usually each session with a few competency points.
Okay.
Now, these competency points allows you to either get rid of some degrees of failure or buy a couple degrees of success.
I dig it.
Now, with that, you only get that limited amount you can get them in game, but it's very unlikely to
Sure,
get them.
rare.
Yeah, extremely rare. And so it's literally like if you can't screw up in this situation or you have to succeed in this situation, it's just that kind of that spark, that little like
extra guaranteed win.
Exactly.
How many do you start with?
Usually you start with 2, but
Oh.
it can vary between table to table.
Sure.
So and it's I believe it is just 2. You don't get to stack them. Like it's not like
They
after
don't
10
roll over,
sessions you
yeah.
get like 10.
And then you spend 1 session as a deity. You're just like,
I succeeded everything.
There is a lot more to this game than what we've gone through in this video, but we felt that this was a really good starting point, and we hope that you join us on Wednesday and watch us play live and get to understand the game a little bit more as we do.
All right, everyone, head down in the comments and let us know, what do you think of Outbreak Undead, and whether or not you want to see us make a character creation episode.
Yeah.
While you're down there, make sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon if you haven't, and then go over to Twitter and talk to us. You can talk to me on Twitter at IndigoQT.
You can talk to me at CrewedQT on Twitter. You can also talk to both of us at all these social media links down below. If you don't go there, zombies will come to your house. I'm not saying they're gonna do anything bad. I'm just saying they're gonna be there. They're just gonna chill outside your house. Yep, make that sound. We've been GameGorgon. We'll see you guys next time.